A brief disclosure, this is a community-focused podcast, not a financial podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise. And since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corporation. Hi, you're listening to the Kitsap Matters podcast. I'm Kevin Campbell, and I'm here with my co-host, Christine Campbell. Say hi.
Hi.
We're thrilled to have Dan Weedin on the show today. Dan wears many hats. He is the voice of the North Kitsap Vikings football team. He's also the coach of the North Kitsap golf team. He's a certified Titleist Performance Institute golf expert, published author, host of the Shrimp Tank podcast, Rotarian, former North Kitsap school board member, husband, father, grandfather, and somehow also manages to find time to work as a certified risk manager in the insurance world, providing business, personal, and cyber insurance, not necessarily in that order. Wow, that was a lot. Dan, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thanks. It looks like you've chosen everything in reverse order of how I make money. So I find that to be fascinating. But it's great. It's probably more fun. I have more fun that way, too. So.
All right, now, if you're familiar with Peaks Financial, you've probably heard of our sale formula. This process is all about the key parts of our planning philosophy, with the first four letters of formula being FORM, representing family, occupation, recreation, and money. It's about what matters most and what you can control. What's fun about our planning approach is that it provides a great outline for this interview. So today we're diving into Dan's story and what matters to him, as well as touching on some of his most recent endeavors. So let's jump right in and get started. So Dan, thanks again for being here. That was a huge bio. Matter of fact, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I probably, but in retrospect, no, that was a great bio. I'm probably too confusing for people, so maybe this will help.
Okay.
Right? Maybe this podcast will
I
help.
thought you meant just dead air would help.
No. Maybe this will help.
So, okay, so now we're now changing the topic of the podcast to who's Dan Weedin? Will the real Dan Weedin stand up?
Oh, I like
that. So family, tell me about the family. I know you've got some grandkids, and I know that
some grandkids, that's true.
And right now, there's another person in the household visiting from another country.
Right.
And I know that I believe your daughter and son-in-law moved over into the area just about a year ago.
Yeah, what she said. No, that's basically, you're exactly right. Married to my high school sweetheart, so we've been married 37 years this year. Just
awesome.
Past that, and I've been together for 40, so that makes me feel old. We have two wonderful.
That's because you are.
That's because I am. We have two wonderful adult daughters, and one of them lives here and just moved into Kitsap County to Paulsbo, near Paulsbo Elementary, with her husband and our 4 grandchildren. She's a little bit of an overachiever. Two of them are they're twins, and so with 6 years old, 4.5, and then twin 13-month-olds, and we see them every day. So they're an integral part of our life. We do have a Rotary Exchange student for a very short time. She'll probably be leaving this weekend to their first host family. But I've been active in Rotary Youth Exchange for the nearly 30 years I've been in Rotary. We've had 10 that we've hosted, and many others, including the one we have now, that we've developed relationships with. And so we have a lot of friends and family, so to speak, across the country, or not the country, but the world. And so family is a very important part, and we are thrilled that our daughter is back here in Paulsbo, where she grew up, and the kids will be growing up near us.
Wow. So what's the coolest part about being a grandfather or grandpa or granddad or
I'm
whoever
Pops.
you are? Pops.
Let's be clear, I'm Pops.
Pops, right?
I was never going to be called Grandpa. My dad was Grandpa, and it's like, nah, that's for old people, and I ain't going there. That's not my jam. So I'm Pops. I I think anybody who's gotten to that point of grandparenthood would understand this. It's really hard if you're not. I'm just going to say there is something uniquely special about watching your child, whether it's boy or girl, and I think it's specifically with a daughter, watching that child give birth and produce their own children. I'm not even sure how to explain. It's the coolest thing ever. And I believe we did a great job raising our kids. I really do. We made mistakes because there's no handbook, but we did a great job. Now,
Owner's manual is sorely lacking.
Yeah, now we have the opportunity, though, with all of that experience and now being more mature and all that, to really have an impact on these little people who have both of us within the DNA pool, the gene pool that they're swimming in, and our daughter and her husband, and we just get to see those faces. We get to relive and redo. Even if the first one was great, which it was, get a chance to redo in a completely different format.
So it sounds like you're kind of saying that your actual children are kind of like the test kids.
Yeah.
And then you get to refine it on the grandkids.
Yeah, in fact, I picked up our granddaughter. She started kindergarten. She was in day 2 of kindergarten. I had the opportunity to pick her up and walk her back home. And I'm sure I did that at some level with my kids, but it wasn't the same. It was just different. It was a whole different feeling. And so I think you have to get there to truly understand it. But the coolest thing is just being able to say, and I hear people say, oh, you can give them back. Yeah, I don't like giving them back. That's not it. It's that you get to share your life in just a different way with these kids.
You're at a different stage in life and a different pace in life.
Yeah.
And when the kids are young, unfortunately, there's also a lot of pressure to be. You got to be building a career. It's not just raising the kids. There's a whole lot more going on.
Well, I'll just say this, Kevin. Discipline. While we're not going to let them get it, I'm not the boss. I'm not the disciplined person. In fact, there have been times I've been called out for things like sitting on the arm of the sofa. That's what my granddaughter's doing, and I'm doing it there. So I've been in trouble from my own daughter for getting them in trouble. So I'm not the disciplined guy. I'm the fun guy, and so we're gonna. That's a big part of it too. I'm happy being the fun guy. I don't need to discipline anymore.
That's fun.
All right, awesome. So speaking of family, who was probably the biggest influence in your life in a positive way?
In my family? Mm-hmm. Are you talking about parents or are you talking about all family?
All
family, yeah.
And
or somebody you consider family.
And my parents,
the family you have or the family you choose. Either one.
My parents were terrific. I had wonderful parents, but I have to say my wife Barb has had the biggest impact on my life. I mean, I've known her since we were 16 years old. I think we're getting close to the point that I've known her as long as I knew my parents. Not quite there yet, but close. And so I think just because she was more in my life in what I'll just call the young adult maturing age, there was a greater impact. I grew up as an only child. She grew up in a family of 6.
Wow.
Sharing that was a whole different mindset for me when we got married, because I shared with nobody.
Right.
Anything, and in fact, that's one of the reasons I think I'm an entrepreneur is I just kind of had that mindset, but I don't share. Didn't share well. I've become a much better sharer. and so I just think in all aspects of life, she's definitely had the biggest impact.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and going on, married for so long. I mean, 37 years.
37 years. But we've been together for 41 is in fact in September. 41 years we'll have been together officially, and we've knew each other even before that.
Right.
Oh, you're right at about 10 years ahead of us. So we're at 31 or 32 together.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how many married, but a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure people will be glad to know that you do math so well. That when you're talking about numbers, but that's beside the point.
Well, see, if I say a number and it's wrong,
and
then I
dates.
could be in trouble.
No. I think it's
So what
been
year
wrong.
is it? It's 2023.
99
99, yeah.
and 91.
So 23, so 24 years together. 24 years married.
Yeah,
24
years married and then 31 together.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
So we're getting there.
You're getting there.
We're trying to
Same.
catch up.
All
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a
Wow,
minute.
time flies.
Yeah, it does.
Let's talk about occupation, since there's so many to choose from.
Well, you started out with my fun stuff. I mean, you
Exactly.
started out with things that I do for fun.
Well, I thought that was a lot more interesting than what
They're
you do
more
for a
interesting.
living.
I think they're actually they are more interesting.
I was thinking, like, anybody listening to the podcast would be like, some insurance guy. I don't know if I want to-
One of the things about the beauty of entrepreneurship is it allows me the opportunity to do things I like. I think life's too short, and we have to enjoy the things we like, or else life is we don't get to maximize that. So from a real world perspective, I like to think of myself as helping entrepreneurs, business owners, specifically small business owners, navigate through their business by trying to prevent, respond to, and recover from all the bad stuff that can and will happen.
Right.
I love entrepreneurs. I love people who start businesses. We all start out with that mindset of it's going to work, and we should. That's how it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, you don't really learn, and you don't learn this in business school, because I don't think there's a real business school for entrepreneurs. I think there's business school for people who work in corporate jobs.
Yeah.
But we who started small businesses, it's been more about the street smarts, and sometimes the street smarts hurt.
Yes.
Because something happens and we weren't prepared for it. And so my whole goal is to help people navigate that, to be proactive in their thinking regarding what are the risks, what are the exposures, what can happen that would be bad, and if it does, what do we do? And if you do that in advance, you're more likely to keep your business if it does. And so that's my world. And it includes risk management planning, crisis planning, insurance and insurance planning, all of those things that may not sound very sexy until they are incredibly important.
Yep.
So that's how I've made my money, my revenue. That's how I fed my family and sent kids to college. That's an important part of it. And I do love it. I do love being able to help people. Some of that other stuff that you talked about, those are my fun things. Those are my fun gigs. Coaching golf, high school golf. I played high school golf for 4 years, and I love it, and I love working with youth. I think that's why I've been active in Rotary Youth Exchange. I've been active in coaching. I just love, I think hanging out with young people keeps you young. And keeps you hip and keeps you, just interesting and interested. So I love doing that. I've been the voice of the Vikings. I got the best seat in the house for the football games.
And you've been doing that for a long time, right?
It's year 21.
21 years.
Wow.
Next week we'll start out year 21. So I've been doing that. In fact, one of the coaches on the team, one of the assistant coaches, was a junior my first year. I mean, he was a starting quarterback.
Wow.
And he's now one of the offensive coaches.
Wow.
But
That's
it was
awesome.
his junior
And he's still
year.
like, I still hear that same voice.
That's all he's known, And so all those other things, for the most part, now the podcast is part of the business. I think you mentioned the podcast, Shrimp Tank Podcast. That's part of my business. I consider that as part of it. But everything I do, I like to think I enjoy doing it. I like doing it. I love talking to people. That's why I love podcasting and learning about how they started their business, what they're doing, what makes them different, how they help people, how they help, if they're B2B, how they help other businesses. That's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I get to learn an awful lot when you talk to people and how they got started.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned something about family and hosting exchange students, and that kind of also feeds right into the recreation, because I believe you said you were headed out on a trip somewhere, and that you were going to check in on one of the exchange students as you were passing through. So when you go and travel, don't you get to meet up with former exchange students?
Yeah, I wish I traveled more. I wish maybe I need more time. I wish I traveled more. that just hasn't been, as much in the cards as we'd like, and we'd like to do more. We have done it once in Colombia, but I have family in Colombia. I was down there for a different reason. We still went to see her. But we know that when we do have opportunities to travel someplace, in fact, I think what I was mentioning this, it wasn't actually one of our exchange students. It was an exchange student in North Kitsap when I was coaching high school basketball. She was on the team.
It. Yes.
She was on my team. And so we're going to Iceland later on this year. She's from Iceland. So she wasn't, it was funny, she was a player of mine. And so I reached out to her. She's got a family, and so we're gonna get a chance to meet her. So yeah, it's an opportunity, whether you hosted them or you had an impact in their life in some way, get a chance to meet them when you go somewhere.
That's awesome.
You know what I see in all of the various things you do is, whether it's your professional stuff or your hobbies, as you're calling them, your numerous hobbies, is it's all about people and community. We're members of Rotary together, which is where we not where we met.
No, we met in Provisors.
And you pulled me into the Rotary web.
I'm actually really glad.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
If you hadn't
wonderful.
pulled Kevin in, then I wouldn't have found the Rotary family.
Yeah,
right.
So, but it seems to me like everything that you do is involving, whether it's business or personal, it's about community and it's about people.
Well, and it always should be. It always has been, and it always should be. And I've done some things talk about AI and artificial intelligence, all that. It's all great, but in the end, business and personal, which by the way I think are the same. I'm a believer that you don't have a professional life and a personal life. You have a life.
Right.
Really revolves around people and other humans, and sometimes there's you can do business together, or sometimes you don't. It doesn't matter. We're all on this planet together, and we share the same era that we're in, and we share the same space. And I think we should, get to know people and have fun.
Yeah.
Good philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, speaking of AI, it'll be interesting to see where that goes and how much of that impacts the business and personal world. And I've always, my background before getting into the finance world was technology. And as the pandemic happened, a lot of people started using a lot more technology. I actually got asked a couple of times to coach people on how to do things remotely and how to use microphones and cameras and all this kind of stuff. And one of the things I kept encouraging people to do is, and I think this applies definitely to the world of AI as well, is that you shouldn't use technology to replace the human experience. Use technology to enhance it.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see how that plays out with AI.
Well, and I think AI, if done correctly, actually frees up time, gives you the opportunity to have more discretionary or professional time. And I also believe it's making a shift in the professional world, that there will always be a need for people who know how to use it, because there's going to be people who don't and don't want to, and will hire those who do to help. Right. And so being able to be, from a consultative standpoint, I use AI all the time within my own business. Could my clients use it? Maybe, but they don't know how, they don't want to. But I do. And so I use that to help them. And if that resource helps me do it faster and better, then everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So when you're not, I don't know if I was going to say, when you're not working or doing any of your coaching, anything else, what do you do for fun? But I don't know, do you have any free time other than what you're already doing?
Well, I kind of integrate it all. I play a lot of golf. You know that. You mentioned the TPI, the Tyler Performance Institute. I call that my side hustle now because I enjoy it. It's fun. And, maybe it's a way that I'll pay for my golf and do that. But I play golf, but I also go out with colleagues to play golf. That's part of business, and that's always been that way. So, yeah, I mean, I love playing golf and spending my time doing that. On several committees in Rotary. I enjoy doing that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't like being bored. I really
go.
I really don't like being bored. Somebody asked me, I was at my 40th class reunion couple weeks ago, and I have some classmates. Obviously, they've done pretty well, and they're retired. And they said, "Well, what are when do you want?" I said, "Retire to me is a dirty word."
Right.
And nothing personal. Everybody has the right to do how they. But I don't want to retire. That sounds like I've been put out to pasture.
Right.
Now, I'd like to be in a position where I'm making money and revenue because I can, as opposed to because I need to. But I'm always going to be busy. Otherwise, I think bad things happen. I think people deteriorate when you lose that. And we've got somebody in our club who's 98 years old, and she's as active as ever, and she hangs out with young people. Probably everybody for her now is a young person. But I've known her for 25 years.
Wow.
And so it's always been that way. But I think the more active that you continue to be, and whether you want to call it you're doing it in retirement or not, I actually like doing things from an entrepreneurial standpoint. I like a way to find a way to do that, wherever it's a win-win for everybody.
I agree with you. So what you were describing a minute ago of working because you want to rather than you have to, we actually we call that work optional.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
What we talk about is
I like that.
When you get to the
Work-optional
point in our financial services practice here at Peaks, what we tend to find is we'll find people who are already retired, people who have a retirement date carved in their desk, or we've even seen countdown timers and that kind of stuff. And then we've got people who are like, I don't really have any intention of retiring. I want to make sure that I'm on track for it. So when it happens, whether I choose to retire or I get retired, that I'm ready for it. It could be a medical or a layoff or whatever. But I think we're starting to see that a lot more. Is a lot of people are not aching to retire at 55 or 60 or 65. A lot of people.
When I would say this, and
I
I think retirement has a connotation. The word has because we're not that far apart in age. When you grew up in the 70s, and people are going to retire at 65, right? I mean, that was the retirement age. That was when people, and in fact, I remember Marv Harshman, who was the basketball coach at the University of Washington, was forced to retire at age 65 in the mid 80s because he was 65 and he was a state employee. And that was it. He probably could have coached another 15 years. Yeah. I mean, here we got Pete Carroll at age 71 or 72, whatever he is now, still coaching and vibrant. And I think, it's given this false sense of retirement is the end. And it can really just be a transition into the next phase of whatever it is you want to do, whether you earn money from it, which I like to do because I think it's fun. I think it adds something. Or you're just going to volunteer your time, whatever that is. I think when we start thinking, well, I'm just going to sit on the porch and I don't know if that could work. Somebody actually once said this to me, and I'll say it to you, Chris, because I know you might even be more into golf than he is. Somebody said to me, well, you can't golf every day. And I said, says who?
Absolutely. I could.
Wait a minute, what does that mean? Now his point was around, you gotta do stuff. And I said, well, wait a minute, don't use that because I probably could golf every day.
We actually do have a friend he plays 18 holes almost every day. Yeah. And he's not retired. He still works full time.
Yeah.
And he still squeezes in 18 almost every day. I don't know when he sleeps.
Yeah.
But he manages to get...
He must use AI very well. That's probably what he does.
So it's...
Maybe he uses his work time for that.
Right, he's golfing while he's at work? Yeah.
No, he's sleeping while he's at work.
Sleeping while he's at work. Gotcha. So... the golf thing, it is fun. And you can... The thing is, I think it's important for people to understand when you're talking about retirement. It's just as important for them to understand what they're retiring to as what they're retiring from.
Right.
And that's where you see, we'll often kind of counsel people is you need to start thinking about this a few years out in advance, especially if you're in one of those roles where you get retired, where I'll use an example, airline pilots, where at 65 you're done. Right?
Yeah.
The FAA, you could go fly something else, but you can no longer fly passenger jets beyond age 65. So it's important to know what you're going to retire to.
Yeah.
Because having that plan and having some kind of a framework to work within and have understanding. Otherwise, as you said, bad things happen. I saw my father retire young with no plan, and it did not work out well.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen to several people. And I've also known friends who are already, I've got friends that I went to high school with that are already retired.
Yeah.
And some of them are like little old people. Like
yeah.
I mean, like they got old real fast.
So one of the questions I ask in my podcast frequently, and I don't know if I asked this to you when you were on it, but I say I'll ask people if you had to start a business, and you're already business owners, but if you had to start a business based on a hobby, what would the hobby be? And invariably they'll come. In fact, I just did it yesterday. A lot of energy. I'd be this, and I often wonder, and I've even said that might be their next thing, because entrepreneurs like to create new things. I think we have a malady where we can get bored in what we're doing, and there's a next thing. But that could be what the next thing. Well, is there a hobby that you're doing that you could actually create a business on, have fun doing, make a little money, or whatever, because that adds to it. I just think that we overlook sometimes the things we enjoy doing and making that a more integral part of our lives.
Absolutely. Sage wisdom there.
I know, and I'm thinking ahead. Boy, you got the little gears turning in my head.
Well, so actually, I'll bring you to that. Bring me to the next question.
Sure.
What scares you most about retirement? Because like you said, it's like you're
well,
like.
I mean, this sounds stupid, but I don't. I'm nothing, because I'm not going to retire. I think my viewpoint has always kind of been what's next.
Right.
Now, the downside of that is what's next sometimes takes over of what's now. Mm-hmm. I've got to be able to balance what's now with what's next. So I don't know that I have a fear of that, other than making sure, because I'm not a financial person like you are, making sure that, okay, I don't have to. Hopefully there's a plan in place to make sure that there's always going to be financial resources there. But that would probably be it. I'll say this. I've always had the mindset, I can go make another dollar.
Yeah.
I'll find a way. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I don't want to have to rest on that. But I just have always had that mindset of, okay, I'll go find a way. So I don't know if anything really scares me in that regard.
Right on. So
I'll just move in with my daughter. I don't just gonna watch this. We'll just move in. We have no money, but we'll watch the kids. So
right. She'll love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might they have 4 kids? They might actually.
Right,
so they might actually pay us. So we'll see.
So let's talk real quick about your latest endeavor.
Yeah.
Or the latest one I know of, which is the TPI certification, the Titleist Performance Institute. Right? Yeah. Because that's something that sounds like it's talking about having fun and kind of the latest Dan endeavor.
Well, yeah, and there's and so the genesis of it was really quickly is I noticed that some of my colleagues who are coaching other golf teams, they either were already like a pro, like a PGA pro, so they were helping their kids, or they were they weren't working, but they had practices at golf clubs that had young assistant pros helping. Well, we didn't have that. We have a great golf course we go to, Port Ludlow, but there's no assistant pro there. So it was on me. And it's like, I better up my game because all these other people are really good. I better figure out how to become better.
So you're competing against the coaches.
I'm competing against the coaches.
Yeah.
And so I said, I at least have to, I'm not going to become a professional. That's not going to happen. But I knew enough because I'm kind of a golf geek. I knew about Titleist Performance Institute, TPI, and I went online. I learned I can as a coach, I can become certified by paying money, watching videos, taking the test, doing all that. I can get certified, which I did. And so I started that process, got certified, started doing a little bit of work with the kids. But I realized I'd learned so much in the process. I'd interviewed another business owner who's Titleist Performance Institute certified over in Seattle, and I learned so much. And I thought, what I learned is not only to enjoy golf more, play a little bit better, enjoy it more, but everything that was related to the biomechanics of it was good for aging, was good for life. We're talking about strength, flexibility, mobility, balance, and you start looking at that at 58 and saying, I've watched enough people age not well because of those. So not only is this good for my golf game, but it's good for me physically.
Right.
It's adding longevity not only to my golf game but to me as an individual. And then I got this idea. I bet there's other people who'd like to know this. And since there was no TPI person in Kitsap County, and they're not going to go to Mercer Island. I said, what if I kind of just open my shingle and say, I can teach you what I've learned. Here's the format. I can teach you what I've learned. And, who knows, maybe when the time comes, maybe that'll be big enough that that's what I do. That's the next iteration. And I just happened to start it. I didn't have to ask anybody's okay. I get to do that because I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I just did it, and I'm beta testing it now and having some fun with it and some good results. So, that's kind of what I'm doing. And I don't have a big business plan about it. It's like, I'm just going to go see what happens. And if I have some fun along the way and people are better off for it and they're playing better golf and they feel better and they don't have to jump in a cart, they can walk more often, then that's a win-win for everybody. So that's a new thing. I'm conscious that it's not the thing, so I still do my other stuff, but I've carved out some time to make it work, and we'll see what happens.
Very cool.
Sounds really fun. I just have to say.
And
really
I got to tell you this. I've been in insurance and risk management since 1987. Nobody wakes up saying, boy, I love insurance. I got to talk to the insurance guy, or we got to talk about crisis management. So we're probably very much like lawyers. We probably, nobody really wants to talk to us. They have to, but they don't. Golf is different, and it's kind of fun to be working in something that somebody gets an email from, and the first thought isn't, oh no, what's going on?
Right.
It's something different. So that's been kind of a fun change too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So a couple other questions.
Sure.
And we'll start wrapping it up. What's your favorite thing in Kitsap County? It is the Kitsap Matters podcast. So what do you love about Kitsap County?
Well, what I love about it, as I'm actually looking at one of the pictures up here, is the beauty of it. I mean,
it is beautiful.
People will come and visit and say, I can't believe where you live. And it's a great reminder that nobody, not everybody gets to live in such a beautiful place. Now, we get some rain. We get some gray days, but for the most part of the year, this is an amazing place to live and to raise kids. Yep. I got to raise my children. We raised our children here. Our grandchildren are going to be raised here. So I think probably my favorite thing is just the beauty of it, the community, the place where it is. We're close enough to Seattle to get to go to a ball game or to go to some cool events in Seattle, whatever that is. We're close to the Olympic National. We're close to everything, but we've got this kind of unique little spot in Kitsap County that is it's somewhat Rockwellian.
Yes,
It is.
I agree.
It is an amazing place. So, and along with that, okay, so my next question is also Kitsap.
All right.
What's the best kept secret in Kitsap? What do you know? What is it? Something that you know about in Kitsap that you're like, this is really cool, but a lot of people don't know about it. Whether it's a restaurant or a place or a hiking trail or a whatever it is.
What is the best kept secret? Wow, that's a good one, because I don't always think of them as best kept secrets, but
right, and it won't be after you put it on the podcast.
And it won't be after I put it on the podcast. Boy. I guess I would say maybe one of the best kept secrets here in Paulsbo is that there is Crabtree Kitchen is a great restaurant. They're friends of mine. They're clients of mine. They also have a speakeasy.
Right.
And I don't know that everybody knows about that. Now, speakeasies are one of those things that you're not supposed to know about. There's supposed to be something, but I would say that maybe that's somebody that you should bring on and talk to Peter Crabtree, because what they have going on there, not only with the restaurant, but I'll add to it their destination liquor store.
I love
High Spirits,
which is amazing.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
I probably should have led with High Spirits,
Yep.
but let's just say underneath High Spirits, there's potentially a speakeasy.
May or may not be.
There may or may not be.
There may or may not be a speakeasy. I can neither confirm nor deny, but High Spirits is probably one of those best kept secrets.
Yeah, High Spirits is awesome. They have an excellent store there.
Yeah, oftentimes when I'm in there, I run into someone who's come up from Bainbridge and they go like, "Oh my God, I was so overwhelmed. You have so much stuff." I'm like, "Oh, they have the best."
Yeah,
It's
great.
really a great plan. Having him on would be amazing.
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
have
All right.
to add
So
him to the
last
list.
question.
All right.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want to know what you think.
Okay.
If you were to produce a reality TV series, what would it be called and what would the premise be?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question. And those are things I usually try to think about while I'm just while I'm on my free time.
I
And I
love
don't know
that.
that I've thought about that.
You're like, hey, when I do a reality TV show.
Okay. I think it's got to go around and I'm just thinking out loud because you threw something at that. I'm going to keep it away from golf because that's no good. It's going to be dog related in some way. Because one of my registered trademark brands is Unleashed from the late great Captain Jack. So I think here I got it.
Okay.
It's going to be called Unleashed. Somebody is going to be given a dog of my choice, a breed of my choice, and they have to live in your house for a month. I don't know if that's good timing for reality, but for a month. And we're going to have a camera in the house and on the dog's collar, and we're going to find out how well you actually work with a dog that might be the opposite of what your desire would be.
It's like a dog exchange.
You know what? How about this?
Yeah.
We go to cat people.
Oh,
And we go
yeah.
to cat people.
better.
Yeah, even
And
better.
give them a
Even
dog.
better.
Yeah, we're going to go
Even
to
better.
cat people and we're going to give them a Oh, I got it. The worst dog I had
Jack
one.
Russell.
We're going to give him a Jack Russell Terrier.
Yep.
That's it. I'm glad I worked. See, this is how we work through things. We're going to give them
You
a
just
Jack
witnessed
Russell
greatness here.
Terrier with and then we're going to watch as they leave them alone and watch them destroy every piece of furniture in the matter of about 17 minutes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep, that would be great.
Unleashed.
That's my next thing. And you're
Awesome.
gonna be my executive producer. That's what it's gonna be.
Perfect.
There we
Awesome.
go.
Fantastic.
I like it.
I like it. I would watch it.
I would too.
It'd be entertaining.
Yeah, that would be
be
great.
very-
And then would you give cats to dog people?
No, I'm just
No, because
yeah,
the cats
no.
would
That's
beat
too
them.
mellow, yeah.
The cats would really shred them.
Yeah, I just make people sneeze because I'm kidding. But yeah, I think we'll give the Jack Russells to actually you could do probably anybody, and then they would
Yeah.
no longer be dog people. So I'm not kidding.
So, Dan, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you being here. How can people connect with you, whether it is for golf or
Yeah.
anything?
Well, I'm kind of ubiquitous. I tend to be out there. There's not many Dan Weedins, Weedin. There's not many. So danweedin.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. My email will get everything, dan@danweedin.com. That would be the easiest way.
Awesome.
And how about this? If there's a golfer out there and they say that they saw me on this show and they'd like to learn more about hitting the ball longer and walking more and all of that, I'll give them a 20% discount.
Awesome.
Oh, that's great.
20%
Thanks.
off your
10%
TPI.
for each of you. I added those together. That's
Excellent.
Awesome.
right.
Dan, thanks a lot for being here. We really appreciate it. Chris, thanks for helping and being here and co-hosting with me. And we'll see you on the next podcast of Kitsap Matters. Thanks. A brief disclosure. This is a community-focused podcast, not a financial podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise. And since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corporation.